A listener's note. The following episode contains coarse language, adult themes, and content of a violent and disturbing nature, and may not be suitable for everyone. Listener discretion is advised.
When you go to a concert or attend a festival, you have every right to expect to be reasonably safe while you're there. There's security, there's inevitably a police presence, and EMS people are standing by with their medical tents and ambulances. In the last 25 years, security has stepped up at concerts and festivals. There are bag searches, pat-downs, and maybe even drug-sniffing dogs and magnetometers. There's also greater attention paid to everything from the paths people walk, to crowd control, to monitoring the weather. It's not that organizers want to be all authoritarian about anything. It's just business. The business of staging concerts involves following local laws. And then there's the matter of insurance. When hundreds of thousands of humans gather in one place where alcohol and drugs are in use, dangerous and weird things can happen. People get angry, drunk, high, and just carried away. And that can lead to trouble. As the organizer of the gig, you do not want anyone to get hurt or worse, because that will inevitably lead to legal problems, lawsuits, and issues with insurance. But sometimes imagination about what could go wrong fails us. Probably because we can't conceive of something so horrible ever happening. Such was the case on the Las Vegas Strip on October 1st, 2017. It was a country music festival called Route 91 Harvest. Things started as usual on that Sunday, but just after 10, the festival was transformed into a shooting gallery. By the time it was over, 60 people were dead and nearly 900 were injured. How? A single gunman with an arsenal of weapons perched on the 32nd floor of a famous hotel across the street. It was the deadliest mass shooting by a lone gunman in the history of the United States. I'm Alan Cross, and this is episode 36 of Uncharted: Crime and Mayhem in the Music Industry. It's an account of the horrific Route 91 massacre. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That's the saying. Yeah, well, sometimes, but not always. And this particular episode will never be contained just to Vegas. The country music scene is one of the friendliest music scenes in existence. If you're a fan, and if you've ever attended a country event, the vibe tends to be welcoming. Yeah, there's the occasional drunk and the odd belligerent idiot, but for the most part, it's usually like some kind of family gathering. No one expects a lone gunman to plan a mass shooting. Let's start before the beginning. Route 91 Harvest was a country music festival that began in 2014. The promoters, Live Nation, held the festival on a 15-acre lot called the Las Vegas Village on the east side of the Strip, right next to the airport. It was a very convenient location. There are many hotels within walking distance, and the Strip tram stops just across the street at the Luxor. And it was called Route 91 because that was the old designation of Las Vegas Boulevard. Over the years, Route 91 featured artists of the caliber of Jason Aldean, Miranda Lambert, Florida Georgia Line, Toby Keith, Luke Bryan, and many more. And each year, it got a little bit bigger. By the time the gates opened for the 2017 festival on September 29th, it reliably attracted around 20,000 people. 13 acts played the Friday, including Eric Church, Lee Brice, and Brothers Osborne. Morgan Wallen, Sam Hunt, Maren Morris, and Bobby Bones were among the dozen acts that performed on Saturday. And the Sunday finale was stacked. Luke Combs, Dylan Scott, Big and Rich, Jake Owen, and Jason Aldean, reprising his appearance at the inaugural festival in 2014. The day had been hot, reaching 33 degrees that afternoon. But by the time Jason Aldean started his headline set, the temperature was in the low 20s under clear skies. Another Route 91 festival was almost in the books. 22,000 people had a great time that day. But then, at 10:05 p.m., loud cracks were heard. It had to be fireworks, right? Maybe it was a construction crew, and those were the sounds of a jackhammer. No, someone was firing into the crowd. But from where? How many shooters were there? Person after person went down. Others were wounded. Others were injured in the panic to get out, seek cover, and avoid getting shot. By the time the shooting stopped, about 10 minutes later, 36 women and 22 men were dead of gunshot wounds. 34 were from California, 6 from Nevada, 4 from Canada, and others were from various states. Emergency responders moved fast. 6 hospitals were mobilized to handle the injured, which numbered 869. One hospital was flooded with 150 victims within 40 minutes of the shooting. Another took in 104. Blood banks were emptied as the injured were treated. 27 people died of their wounds in hospital. 2 police officers were killed. And then there was one more death. 64-year-old Stephen Paddock of nearby Mesquite, Nevada. He was the lone shooter. His vantage point was a couple of rooms on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel, which was diagonally across the strip from Las Vegas Village. He had a clear view of the entire festival crowd. Paddock killed himself before anyone could reach him. But before he did, he committed the worst mass shooting by a lone gunman in American history. There is much to untangle about what happened, so let's do the best we can. First, there is no doubt that Paddock was responsible, and there is no doubt that he acted alone. But we don't know why. Paddock was the son of a bank robber. His father was once on the FBI's most wanted list. He and his brothers were raised by a single mother. Paddock was a quiet kid, but also was quite skilled in math. He worked in the post office in the 1970s and for the IRS in the early 80s. Other financial-related jobs followed. Paddock got into real estate in Los Angeles and did quite well, owning several houses and a couple of apartment buildings. When he sold off that business, he walked away with nearly $6 million. He was married and divorced twice, but had no children. Paddock is said to have remained friendly with both of his ex-wives. He took a lot of cruises and vacations. He earned a pilot's license and owned 2 small planes. He was also a gambler. Video poker was his thing, something that obsessed him for more than 25 years, often playing $100 hands, and he was known to the casinos in Vegas. He preferred gambling at night and sleeping during the day. A few casinos considered him a high-stakes whale, and he was often comped rooms and meals at various hotels. And he was good at gambling. It's quite possible that he won more than $2 million at video poker thanks to a method of applying algorithms to the machines. We'd later find out that he operated with a gambling pool of about $1.5 million. He'd head to a casino, gamble for a bit, go home to sleep, and repeat things again that night. On a good day, he'd be up $80,000. On a bad one, down about 20. According to those who knew his approach to gambling, say that he conducted it like a business with military precision. There was only one previous altercation with police, a minor traffic violation which was settled in court. There was also a 2014 lawsuit against the Cosmopolitan Hotel over a slip-and-fall incident, but that was it. That case was dismissed. By 2016, he'd moved from a retirement community in Florida to a new house in Mesquite. At the time of the shooting, he had a girlfriend and generally kept a low profile, not talking to too many people. Those who did get close to him say that he was kind and generous, although he was also described as very reserved and non-emotive. His brother had a different take, calling him narcissistic and the king of microaggression. Paddock had no known interest in religion. He rarely talked politics and didn't belong to any political organizations. And even though Paddock was a big fan of the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, he wasn't known to the local gun community and was never seen at any clubs or shooting ranges. We know that he disliked the hot sun and complained that certain chemical smells made him ill. We also know that starting in 2013, he was prescribed Valium for anxiety, something that happened 2 or 3 more times over the next couple of years. It was his girlfriend, Mary Lou, who first noticed something different about Paddock. He began drinking heavily in addition to taking the Valium. He was distant, quiet, and didn't communicate very well. He was apparently also running out of money, which would make anybody depressed, especially a hardcore gambler. In October 2016, a year before the shooting, he started buying guns. A lot of guns. He already owned about 30, but over the next 11 months, he bought 55 more, most of them rifles. He also stocked up in ammunition and accessories like bump stocks, which can turn a semi-automatic weapon into an automatic one. When his girlfriend was asked about all these purchases, she replied, "I thought it was just a hobby." But what Paddock was doing was assembling an arsenal. He was doing some research about music festivals and hotel rooms, too. In May 2017, he was curious about something in Boston involving Fenway Park. He also did a Google Map search for Venice Beach in Los Angeles. For the first weekend in August, he booked a room overlooking Grant Park, the site of Lollapalooza. And then on September 17th, 2017, he stayed at the Ogden, a hotel in downtown Las Vegas that overlooked the area reserved for the Life is Beautiful music festival. About a month or two before the shooting, this would be sometime in early September 2017, Paddock treated his wife to some time at Mandalay Bay, one of the hotels that recognized him as a high roller. He'd recently been at the casino a lot, working with at least $160,000. During their stay, Mary Lou noticed that he went from window to window in their rooms. Each one of these windows overlooked Las Vegas Village. Had anyone had access to Paddock's search history at the time, they would have discovered terms like SWAT Las Vegas, ballistic charts 308, do police use explosives, and how high is Mandalay Bay? 2 weeks before the shooting, Paddock surprised his girlfriend with airline tickets for a little vacation. "Go home to the Philippines and visit your family," he said. "I'll pay for everything," which sounded pretty good to Mary Lou. It got even better about a week later when, amongst all the emails and text messages, Paddock wired her $150,000. It's nice, but strange. She wouldn't see him again. On Monday, September 25th, 2017, with his girlfriend on the other side of the planet, Paddock again checked into the Mandalay Bay Hotel. He was comped on the $590 per night suite, getting room 135 on the 32nd floor. This was known as the Vista Suite for its views down onto the Las Vegas Strip. On Thursday, he also asked for and got the room next door, number 134. Both suites faced north, overlooking Las Vegas Village. Between that Monday and the shooting Sunday night, Paddock spent a lot of time on the casino floor, usually at night, as was his custom. He talked with staff at least 10 times. Nobody noticed anything strange, including the bellman who helped him with his luggage. When he checked in, Paddock had 5 suitcases. On the 26th, staff helped him with 7 more, and then another 2 on the 28th, 6 on September the 30th, and 2 more on October 1st. So that's 22 suitcases for a guy who lived in the area who was staying temporarily at a hotel. But Vegas attracts some eccentric people. He was such a welcome guest that the hotel allowed him to use the service elevator for all this luggage. On September 30th, Paddock placed Do Not Disturb signs on the doors to both of his Mandalay Bay suites. In about 24 hours, all hell would break loose. Before we continue, I should warn you that what you're about to hear is very disturbing. It is, however, all part of the public record and what investigators used to piece together what happened that night in Las Vegas. Sunday, October 1st, 2017 began as another normal day. The music at the Route 91 festival began around noon. Eventually, about 22,000 people made their way to the festival site diagonally across the strip from the Mandalay Bay Hotel. There were 51 on-duty police officers and 16 community ambulance people assigned to the venue. There were also dozens of off-duty EMS people and military personnel in the crowd just watching the show. Meanwhile, about 400 meters away, in rooms 134 and 135, on the corner of the 32nd floor overlooking the festival, Stephen Paddock unpacked his weapons. He had 24 guns, 14 of which were AR-15-style semi-automatic weapons from various manufacturers. He had 8 .308 caliber AR-10 type rifles. There was also one .308 bolt-action rifle and a .38 caliber pistol. All 14 of the AR-15s were outfitted with bump stocks, those attachments that could turn a semi-automatic rifle into an automatic one. In this case, they were able to fire 90 bullets in about 10 seconds. The AR-15s were equipped with telescopic sights and mounted on tripods. Each of those weapons had high-capacity magazines capable of holding 100 rounds. All told, Paddock was sitting on more than 2,100 rounds of ammunition. Paddock also researched how police might try to stop him. He set up hidden surveillance cameras outside his suite and put impediments in the stairwell leading to his floor. The stairwell door was right outside his room. Just before 10 p.m., a security guard named Jesus Campos was sent up to the 32nd floor because a secure door had become unsecure. When he arrived, he discovered that the door had been jammed shut by a bracket screwed into the door frame. This was obviously suspicious, so he radioed security to explain what he'd found. Campos managed to make his way into the hallway of the 32nd floor, where he thought he heard sounds of drilling. But it wasn't a drill. It was automatic weapons fire. At 10:05 p.m., Paddock used a hammer to break windows in suites 134 and 135. He then began targeting the crowd at the Route 91 festival. When Campos approached Suite 135, a barrage of gunfire came through the door, at least 35 rounds, and he was hit in the leg. Paddock had set up webcams on room service carts outside the door for surveillance reasons. Cables led back to the room, and one of the cameras was used to live stream everything from the hallway. Campos was found by Stephen Shuck, another hotel employee. He radioed dispatch.
It's at the end of the hallway. I can't tell you what room. He looked like he fired down the hallway when I got close to the door.
Paddock began by testing things with single shots. Some in the crowd felt uneasy and began to move towards the exits. Then, about 30 seconds after the single shots started, automatic gunfire. Someone captured that with their cell phone. No one knew what was going on. Jason Aldean, who was performing at the time, just kept on playing. Probably couldn't hear the shots at first. Then, over the next 10 minutes, Paddock unloaded at least 1,000 rounds on the crowd in 12 80 to 100 bullet bursts. The shots came from the side of the festival with the stage. Paddock had a clear view of the densest section of the crowd. Paddock stops around this point to deal with Jesus Campos outside his door. Then he turns his attention to the crowd again.
Oh my God, I'm so fucking scared.
There's a pause, then more gunfire. At this point, Paddock is just spraying the crowd with bullets. There was panic across the street. A security fence forced people to escape in a particular direction between bursts of gunfire. A fourth round of shots hit the crowd. By now, Paddock has fired at least 300 rounds. Meanwhile, concertgoers are trying to help each other.
Just hold on to her. Hold on to her. Hold on to her.
The gunfire stops for almost 2 minutes. This allows more people to escape the festival grounds.
Hey, you guys, get down! Go that way! Get out of here! There's gunshots coming from over there!
But then, more gunfire. There were a few more brief pauses in the hail of bullets, but Paddock opens fire a sixth time. The seventh barrage seems to be directed toward police.
Go that way. Hey, they're shooting right at us, guys. Everybody stay down.
Then the Route 91 crowd is targeted again.
Should we get up? Should we get up? That's a gunshot, dog. Get down. Get down, man. Mike. How do we get out?
Meanwhile, police and security didn't know what was going on. Were the shots coming from Mandalay Bay or the Luxor next door? Was there more than one shooter? It wasn't until someone spotted muzzle flashes from the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel that police knew what they were dealing with.
Copy, code red at 169 Sam Easy. Have shots fired.
179 Sam Easy is coming from upstairs in the Mandalay Bay. Upstairs in Mandalay Bay, halfway up. I see the shots coming from Mandalay Bay. Halfway up. Control 361 IC. We have multiple 458 breaks. And we have surge. an active shooter. We have an active shooter inside the warehouse. 179 San Macy, that is going to be a light on Mandalay Bay, not shots up from the Mandalay Bay, but it's coming from that direction.
Oh, that is correct. Shots fired from Mandalay Bay. There's many people down. Stage left. Just be advised.
CP, I need eyes. Somebody in the CP, can you tell me where it's coming from?
We're getting it from Mandalay Bay.
Somewhere at Mandalay Bay. It's at the intersection. It almost sounds like it's that close.
Arriving unit is coming across from the boulevard, so what kind of be careful. It sounded like an elevated position that they had.
790 arrived. I'm going to form a strike team, Mandalay Bay and the boulevard. I need 5 officers on me.
We have multiple casualties. GSWs in the medical tent. Multiple casualties.
Control, be advised. Shots are coming from Gate 7. Gate 7. Shots are coming from Gate 7.
At 10:02, 2 cops reached the 31st floor and reported they could hear a lot of gunfire coming from above.
I'm inside the Mandalay Bay on the 31st floor. I can hear the automatic fire coming from 1 floor ahead, 1 floor above us.
The gunfire continued, but instead of long, steady bursts, Paddock slowed down his firing. He manages 12 bursts in total. At 10:15 p.m., the assault on the crowd ended as Paddock prepared to be attacked by police. Police at the concert are still trying to get out.
Is there somebody out there?
Yes, after the shooter.
You know what's happening.
All right.
Go. Okay.
At 10:17 p.m., police arrive on the 32nd floor, where they found a wounded Jesus Campos. He pointed out the rooms where Paddock was holed up. By 10:30, there were at least 10 officers on the floor. And then the gunfire went silent. Cops moved from room to room using a master key.
Control 590K, I have a team of 4. We're going to make entry to the shark. We need to make a contact to the suspect. See if we can get up to him. 169, we're doing that right now. 32nd floor. Copy. We're going to make our way to give you support. Control 159, we're doing evacuations as we're working our way down the hallway. We're about 1:30 and sit on the suspect's door. I need everybody in that hallway to be aware of it and get back. We need to pop this and see if we get any type of response from this guy to see if he's in here or if he's actually moved out somewhere else.
By 10:55, all guests on the floor had been evacuated. Still no gunfire. At 11:20, they went through the door of Suite 135 with an explosive charge. This is from body cam footage.
Breach.
Camera of some sort.
Check it out. Rip it out. But it didn't take multiple cameras. We've got a camera on the box now. You got a connection.
Hold on.
Hold on. Relax. You got a connection to the room behind you guys.
Okay, I'm gonna hold on this door. Okay.
Rifle. Pull right. Look. I got a door. The door's so long. Pull rifle. Move up. You want.
Sorry, we're on. Okay, cover on that. In with you.
Right here. This door. Look at the camera pointing down the hallway. Clear. Check under the bed.
Thompson, I'm covering.
Watch these closets. Watch your back.
I got that.
You got it?
Real quick.
I check him. Just watch that. I'm gonna put a grease on that door.
Copy that.
It's a fucking station.
I'm really thinking this is just a one-guy thing. I hope so, but what about all the other calls? Is that just people panicking or freaking out, or sounds like?
Paddock was there, on the floor, dead. He had used the .38 to shoot himself in the head, blowing off the top of his skull. By 11:27, word went out that suspect is down. About 900 rounds were fired into the crowd, and another 200 fired into the hallway. That end of the strip was now in lockdown. McCarran International Airport, which was on the other side of Las Vegas Village, was closed as a precaution. About 25 flights were diverted because it was still unclear if there were multiple shooters. This turned out to be smart because Paddock had also tried to ignite 2 jet fuel tanks that were on the airport property on the other side of a parking lot that bordered Las Vegas Village. He obviously thought he could blow them up by shooting them, and he did hit them, but because jet fuel is mostly kerosene, a shot or two from an automatic weapon isn't enough to set anything on fire. That area of the strip was searched and searched again, and then on early Monday, October 2nd, Stephen Paddock was identified as the gunman. He was completely unknown to police. In rooms 134 and 135, investigators found 3 cell phones and handwritten notes by Paddock that outlined the best trajectories to use for the attack. They also found many thousands of rounds of ammunition that Paddock had in reserve. When cops went to his house, they found another 1,600 rounds of ammunition, 23 kilos of exploding targets, and another 19 guns. And in case you're wondering, all the guns used were purchased legally. They also found a bulletproof vest and some kind of breathing apparatus in the hotel room involving a blue hose, perhaps as a precaution if police decided to tear gas him. Was Paddock planning to escape? Kind of looks like it. As an aside, people also found several laptops in the room, one with its hard drive missing. Later, computer forensic experts would find hundreds of pictures of child porn on the laptops. This might be connected to Paddock's brother in Los Angeles, who was picked up on child porn charges a few weeks later. Back at the festival, 31 people lay dead. 27 died after being transferred to hospital. The last person died 2 days later. A woman from California would die from her injuries 2 years later. Another woman died almost 3 years later, bringing the total death toll to 61. 869 people were injured, some with gunshot wounds, some hit by flying shrapnel, others with fractures, trample injuries, sprains, and more. Some, including people who died, were able to get out of the venue and travel a remarkable distance, blocks in fact down the street, before they succumbed to their injuries. That's what adrenaline and shock can do. The only death at the Mandalay Bay Hotel was Stephen Paddock. A large group of people breached the security fence around the airport and sought shelter in a hangar. There was a private jet in that hangar, and it was immediately raided for all its liquor. Again, this was the worst lone gunman shooting in American history. And the question remains, why? Why did Paddock do this? We'll look at the investigation in just a moment. After the shooting at the Route 91 festival in Las Vegas, there were many questions. Why would Stephen Paddock move enough weapons to supply a small army into a hotel room and then open fire on a crowd of innocent music fans? Let's look at the investigation. As we've already learned, other than his gambling habits, Paddock was unremarkable. He acted alone on October 1st, 2017, when he immediately killed 58 people and injured 869. He had no known political affiliations. He never articulated any ideologies. He didn't belong to or communicate with any hate group or terrorists. He didn't leave a suicide note or any kind of manifesto. There was all kinds of misinformation spread online, that he had an accomplice, a second gunman on the 4th floor, that he was a registered Democrat with a grudge, that he was associated with Antifa. ISIS claimed credit for radicalizing him. Some survivors were branded as crisis actors, as if the entire massacre was a fake, a staged event. Other online trolls called the whole thing a red flag event designed to, what exactly? Promote gun control? I personally can tell you that this is crazy because I know of someone from my hometown who was wounded by this gunfire. The investigation into the shooting went on for 10 months. 20,000 hours of surveillance footage was examined. Paddock's girlfriend, ex-wives, family, and friends were interviewed. The 17.5 acres of Las Vegas and the area around it contained thousands of pieces of evidence. 250,000 images were examined. The airport fuel tanks, the ones that were shot, were drained and searched for clues. It was determined that Paddock acted alone. No accomplices of any kind were uncovered. The only arrest was of an ammunition dealer in Arizona who sold Paddock armor-piercing bullets. He didn't have a license for manufacturing such ammo. The dealer got 13 months in prison. Okay, what about a motive? Was Paddock despondent over some physical malady? Did he suffer from some kind of mental illness? Was this massacre triggered by his depression over gambling debts? Was he annoyed because some of the casinos were scaling down his status as a high roller? He'd already been banned from 3 casinos in Reno. Did he have a fantasy of following in his father's footsteps? That man was a bank robber and, like I said, on the FBI's most wanted list for a while. No idea. Here's a quote from Clark County Sheriff Joe Lombardo. What we have been able to answer are the questions of who, what, when, where, and how. What we have not been able to definitively answer is why Stephen Paddock committed this act. In January 2019, the FBI published a report that concluded exactly the same thing. It said, there was no single or clear motivating factor for the shooting. For some reason, Paddock was intent on doing maximum damage and achieving infamy for himself. There were lawsuits and countersuits involving the victims and MGM Resorts, the owners of Mandalay Bay. A settlement worth $800 million was approved by a judge in September 2020. As for the Route 91 Festival, it has disappeared from the Las Vegas concert calendar, and as a result, security has been increased at other festivals, adding to operating costs, increasing insurance premiums, and directly pushing up the price of concert tickets. As for any kind of meaningful gun control in Nevada or the US, nope. Assault rifles equipped with bump stocks are still very legal. If you have any questions or comments about anything you hear on this podcast, shoot me an email. I'm available at alan@alancross.ca. We can also hook up on all the social media sites, along with my website, ajournalofmusicalthings.com. It's updated with music news and recommendations every day. And there's also the free daily newsletter that you should get. Oh, and please check out my other podcast, which is The Ongoing History of New Music. It deals with rock music at large, and there are hundreds and hundreds of episodes that you can enjoy for free. See you next time for more stories of crime and mayhem in the music industry. Episodes arrive every 2 weeks. Technical productions by Rob Johnston. I'm Alan Cross.